And thanks, Minister. I have to say, I feel a little bit like a Groundhog Day in here, discussing this issue again, the two-tier system that currently exists in our education system for children with additional needs. I have 2 boys, and if I decide I'm not going to send them to school, after 20 days, the Education and Welfare Officer will be contacting me, asking me why I haven't sent my kids to school. However, if a child with an additional need is not given a school place, is not given a place in an ASD class, does not have the adequate SNA or resource hours, and is told they cannot attend school, absolutely nobody is held to account, whether that's 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, or half of the school year. So we have a two-tier system in our education system, and that's the first thing we have to acknowledge, because we cannot address the problem unless we acknowledge that there is a very serious problem in the first instance. Now, I don't know how many motions and private member bills that have to be brought forward here, or how many topical issues, or how many stories, people's very personal stories, their lives being trashed out here in the Dáil, have to be told before actually something is done about it. Deputy O'Quailon mentioned our motion on the 2nd of April, which was World Autism Day, in relation to establishing that committee. And I'm actually delighted to see the Count Carla in the chair, because I would appeal to him and you, Minister, that can we please try and get that committee up and running. 5 months have passed and we still have had no word on what exactly is happening with that. It's a small step, but it's an important one, and it's one that we need to see happening. It's a cross-party committee that would include everybody, and as Deputy O'Quailon says, it takes the politics out of it. The other issue that I want to raise is in relation to the fact that there is actually no data or information as to how many children are on reduced timetables, how many children do not have a school place, how many children have issues around transport, because I actually think that that's actually very deliberate, that there is no data, because if the data was there and we were able to see the figures and actually see the reality of how many kids don't have a school place or don't have a full school day, or who are trekking 2 hours to and from school, we'd actually have to do something about it. So I would also appeal to you, Minister, to speak to the NCSE in relation to that, in relation to getting the data and the information together, because time and time again it's raised in this chamber. So it's not, you can't get away with saying it's there's a problem in one constituency or in one county or in one area. It's nationwide. There's difficulties everywhere, and it's got to the stage now where I have people contacting me in relation to next September, because they're so panicked, because they know exactly the battle that's in front of them. And that's, when you hear a child gets an ASD class, you're absolutely delighted. But the reality is, that's just the very start of the battle, because it might not always be suitable, it might not work out. There's still going to be serious issues ahead for parents and children and teachers. There's the issue of occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, and in many areas, when you finally get access to these services, you could have a situation where if somebody who's your occupational therapist or your speech and language therapist is on leave, that person is not replaced, and a child then goes 6, 7 or 8 months without access to that service. Total regression, total step back, and I say it time and time again, and I'm sick of hearing myself say it, so I'm sure everybody else is sick of it too. We have failed children consistently in this state. We all know all the stories of the industrial homes, the Magdalen laundries, and now here we are failing children again. And I really do believe that whether it's 20 or 30 years down the road, everybody will be saying, how did we let this happen? But we are letting it happen. And we need to decide, are we going to do something about this and address it? And I know you will say the funding is in place, but the reality on the ground is people are saying they can't get the school places, or they can't get the transport, they can't get a bus escort, they can't get a special needs assistant, they can't get the resource hours. So the two things don't match up. And I think that we need to be much, much stronger, not only in providing the ASD class places, but in ensuring that they're resourced with teachers who have the training and who have the interest and who want to be there and who want to be doing that job. And I think there is a huge level of responsibility on some schools as well that we all know, unfortunately, are trying to turn a blind eye to this issue. And that's why there's so many kids as well on reduced timetables. I think it's time that we start using the legislative powers that are there to ensure that ASD classes are built. I know, Minister, you will say you don't want to be forced in schools, but I think it's got to the stage where we have to really realistically look at that and say to them it's not acceptable. And certainly where there's new school bills, we all will know of various new schools in our constituencies, they have to have ASD classes. It should be absolutely not up for negotiation. They should have to have an ASD class, and many of them, with their plans and with their building underway at the moment, don't have that in their plans, which is unacceptable as well. Thanks, Ceann Comhairle.
Deputy Joan Burke.